Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at something else in the central Flanus and one of the core homes of my campaign, and that is the Kingdom of Furyondy. I know it could also be pronounced Furyondy. We've always said Furyondy. It's just one of those things that as I read it on the page, when I had to say it to my players, I called it Furyondy, and it's been Furyondy at our table since. The Kingdom of Furyondy, one of the only air quotes, good kingdoms, unair quotes, on Earth. But it's one of the primary civilized areas of the Greyhawk setting. And it's one of the reasons I chose it, because I wanted a place where I could do kind of a medieval type flavor without constantly having monsters crash in, and I could do some political wheeling and dealing with Voluna and Verbobank and Shieldlands when they were existent. And then, of course, to the north is the Wystel Lake and the lands of Ayus. Dun, 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 dun. But the Kingdom of Furyondy is important to my campaign because when I started my campaign in 1982, I began it in Furyondy. And that was the area I had picked. I read a little bit about it from the box set, or actually that was from the folio. I didn't even have the box set yet when I started my campaign. But I started in Furyondy, and quickly parts of it emigrated to the city of Greyhawk, which is nearby, which is one of the reasons I chose Furyondy. And Furyondy and Greyhawk have been the home of my campaign since. So 42 plus years of gaming have been primarily in this area, with many other chunks of the map being used. But the Kingdom of Furyondy, as according to the book from '83, is ruled by His Pious Majesty, the King of Furyondy, Belvoir IV. The capital is Shendel. It has a population of 15,600. The entire country has a population of 350,000, with some demi-humans, maybe a few humanoids, and the resources are foodstuffs, cloth, and gold. The Viceroyalty of Furyondy was founded upon several small states during the height of the Great Kingdom's power. It was aimed at giving the Great Kingdom a satrapy on the western frontier. The Viceroy ruled from the Clapspur Mountains to the Near Div, from the Lort Mills to the south, to the far shores of the Wystel Lake and beyond in the north. As the power of the Malachite throne in Rauxus, the Great Kingdom, waned, the Viceroys of Furyondy ruled more by their own writ, and in 898, the heir of them to Viceroy Strindvri, the Viceroyalty had been hereditary some years previously, was crowned in Divers as Thrommel I, King of Furyondy, Prince of Voluna, Provost of the Northern Reaches, Warden General of the Vesvi Forest, Marshal of the Shieldlands, and Lord of Divers, etc. The adjunctive states were soon lost, but the central core of the kingdom was sound and viable. Belvoir IV is most notable and just king. His realm is closely allied with that of Voluna, constantly warring upon the evil Horn Society and Ayus, as well as lending contingents to expeditions bounded by the Earl of the Shieldlands against the bandit kingdoms. Furyondy's Beld heavy cavalry is famous throughout the Flanus, as are their light infantry units drawn from the Vesvi Forest. The standing army of the kingdom numbers only a few thousand, but noble and militia contingents swell its numbers to 20,000 or more in time of need. The Furyondian fleet upon the Wystel Lake to the north absolutely commands the Wystel Lake, and there is a Furyondian squadron upon the Near Div sailing from its base at Willip. The kingdom's colors are blue and red stripes. So there you have it, just some basic information on Furyondy. It's beginning as just a chunk of the Great Kingdom, a la France and Great Britain to Rome, and here we have it breaking free, and it's being ruled by itself. Interestingly, I'll go into the king in a moment. His Most Pious Majesty, King Belvoir IV. I'll talk about him in a moment. And then I'm going to go to the From the Ashes book, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. Much of the naval power in the Wystel Lake has been lost through the events of From the Ashes. Only remnant still lives on the Near Div. It suffered grievous loss of manpower during the battles with Ayus, although it has been reinforced by Shieldlanders who fled their homeland when it fell. I have done that. Shieldlands did fall. Part of it's been reclaimed in my campaign. And the war with Ayus, which is strongly given in the Gore the Rogue novels, which is what I based mine on, and then brought out in From the Ashes, which followed a lot of that same stuff. Furyondy took quite a body blow during that war. Belvoir the Fourth must manage a balancing act given the divisions of the 7 noble houses of his kingdom. The northern nobles have been bled dry by the wars and desperately need money and taxes. The southern nobles resent the heavy taxes even though they must pay them. And they are suspicious of excessive influence on Belvoir from several quarters, notably Voluna and the Knights of the Heart, which is a group of nobles active in Furyondy and other parts of the Flayness. I should touch on those sometime. Most Furyondy's individual army strength comes from veterans and levies raised by nobles. King has no money to pay for mercenaries. Belvoir feels his difficulties keenly and longs to rebuild his land, which he loves deeply. He is known to finance speculative quests from his own monies. Yet even in such difficult times, ordinary Furyondians are good-natured, kindly folk, sunny of disposition, and not insular as so many others are. They understand the need for rebuilding and protection and pay very heavy taxes willingly. Most believe war will come again within a decade, and this time it will be a fight to the finish. They are prepared to work hard and sacrifice all to that end. Furyondy is a land with a glorious past, and its people do not forget this. So that's Furyondy in the World of Greyhawk setting. In my particular Greyhawk setting, Belvoir the Fourth and his line were more stewards, a la the Steward of Gondor from Lord of the Rings. And the Heir of the Mark was a campaign that I started many, many years ago and ran for a long time, pretty much throughout the 80s. And the Heir of the Mark was my way of trying to find the true ruler of Furyondy, Furyondy being what's referred to as a Markland. In the Heir of the Mark campaign, I had different quests and tests and regalia that the player character who was the heir would have to get. And everybody rolled a die 20 for it, and the first guy who was the Heir of the Mark, after about a year of play, got married and moved away. Okay? The second guy who became Heir of the Mark, and I tracked down who rolled what as to who the heir was. The second guy who was the Heir of the Mark ended up just dropping from our group after 6 or 8 months. He went to play with a different group. We really didn't see him anymore. So the third up for Heir of the Mark was my then girlfriend, now wife, Jerry, and she was the one that stayed with the campaign and became the Queen of Furyondy, Queen Ophelia. So Queen Ophelia rules Furyondy in my World of Greyhawk and has since the late 1980s. I think it was 88 or 89 that I did the campaign where she was, or finished that part of the campaign where she actually crowned. And that's been very consistent throughout my Greyhawk campaign. Ophelia is Queen of the Mark of Furyondy. There are many player characters that live in Furyondy that are intertwined with her, and she's nominally their ruler in a lot of cases. It's just a bunch of different things that I've done because I have a very long campaign with a lot of tendrils that stretch a lot of places. So there is a book called The Marklands, which deals with Furyondy itself. It was published in the early 90s, and the other half deals with Nyrond. Those are the Marklands themselves. So I will take a look at that in greater depth. So I'm not done with Furyondy, but this is just a quick thumbnail like I'm doing with a lot of these World of Greyhawk. And it's a place that's very near and dear to my heart for reasons I've already stated. So please let me know if you have any questions, any constructive criticisms, absolutely welcome. Like and subscribe, and take a look at the Patreon. Help me out there if you can. And I'll see you next time on page 121.